Okay, we're live. It's nighttime now. It's not raining. It's chilly, but it's not cold. It's not polar vortexy like it was. I'm vertearbusto, and this is my thing. This is the part of the final exam series, summarizing. Waiting for the car to go. Summarizing what I've done here in this college town. This is a great night to make a video, even though there's a little traffic. It's still a perfect night to make a video because there really is not much going on. There's no show. There's not much traffic, or there wasn't much. But it's cool. Because it's not loud traffic. It's just the normal noise traffic. So this is, once again, it's part of the final exam series. And I'm trying to show behind me. Getting a sense of... so that right there is, both of that is really the purpose of this. I'm continuing on about the... Oh God, this is the final exam series. I'm continuing on about, this is part 3 of the, on-the-job training. The majority of what you need to know on a job, you learn on-the-job training, on-the-job training. Doing the job itself, or some kind of presentation they give, a trainer, some type of something, maybe you need to have a forklift certificate. You need to have a certificate, theoretically, legally speaking, in some jobs. In jobs that you need a forklift to get to be forklift certified. That's the thing, So before I go on further, I am part of the coffee clatch, and this is drink the coffee. It'll make you feel better. It's good for you. That's it. And I also have a snack from Laura upstairs at the club, at the Bubbles. So, I'm continuing talking about on-the-job training. I have construction experience working with stones. I am part of the Stone Age myself. Been talking about the ending of the Stone Age. We're leaving the Stone Age and going into the water, the water bear, the Aquarian Age, and everything's just, not only is it dissolving, but it takes water a long time to dissolve stone. It does happen. There's a chemical thing that happens, and especially if it's stones that have been tumbled around, and there's more smaller stones that braids the bigger stones, and they round out and blah blah blah. That's a natural process, and so I've worked with stone. I am a mason. I'm not of the Free Order of Masons, but I've worked with stone. I have mason's tools. In addition to the shovels and the rakes and all the other implements of mass destruction, mass construction, and we're right next to the Bay State, for those who know. And so I work with stone, right? I'm not just talking about it, from a theoretical sense and standpoint. From some academic standpoint of having learned, in some class somewhere about stonework and, blah, 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 all of that stuff. I've worked with stone and with pottery, right? Ceramics. I haven't done anything porcelain. Notably, I've worked with porcelain, and I love porcelain, but I don't do porcelain stuff. But I do more of a medium fire. There's a low fire and a high fire, and then there's porcelain. So there's an earthenware kind of low fire, and then there's medium range. That's what I've worked in. There's a ceramics level beyond that I I don't work in. It's very fine stuff, and in another life I will, or have, or whatever. But this life, it's medium temperature wear, which is fine. I was doing masks. I would put a face. This is what I was doing with pottery. One of the things I was doing with pottery is a full-size face mask, where I would put the sheet of the ceramic material, the T3-4B material, clay body, the clay, on a person's face, and then I'd get a kind of mold of that, and then let it dry a little bit, so it's what they call leather hard. And so then at that point, then it's pliable. It's not wet, it's not damp, it's not moist, it's it's kind of firm. And that's what you want. And to start building from that, just keep it, regularly misted, so it keeps the consistency of the water content, the pliability of the clay. All right. So anyway, I guess the point was I've worked with clay, I've worked with ceramic mediums, I've worked in a workshop, I've worked in a studio, I've done carpentry, I've done construction, I said last time I did less than a week of roofing. I don't do siding, I don't do roofing, I don't do windows. So I have a understanding of working with stone, working as a mason, and my dad, my father, for his part, he was an antique man. He was on the boats, the ships. He was also a deep sea salvage person, but I remember antiques growing up. Oh, and he was also on the he did sailing. He was a first mate on a charter boat, and he also worked on a sailing boat. We had a sailboat when I was growing up, and I don't really remember it. I don't remember it at all, but my mom loved it, and my dad growing up in the house, Mr. Fix-It, right? I was talking about before, me having a tendency to fix things, and that comes from my parents, who they did things, they worked, they produced things. So both of them did stuff. My mom did knitting, and she was a very good cook. And my dad, one of the things, getting to what I was just saying, is sail making and sail fixing. So growing up in my house, I've never even shared this with anyone ever on the channel, but growing up, we had a sailmaker's bench in my living room. And the pegs were there, and all the curved needles and everything was there in the bench. So while my dad was in between jobs or whatever was going on, we had a sailmaker's bench in the house, and I would sit on that like a horse and pretend the pegs were like the horse, and it was just fun. I miss those days. Life was good then. A simpler time. So I grew up with a sailmaker's bench. I grew up with all kinds of tools, hand tools, using hand tools. I am truly from the Stone Age. But I know how to do computer stuff, and I know how to do a lot more computer stuff than most people. Even a lot of the kids who they kind of claim they know computers. I don't do command code per se, but I do know some of it. But I know a lot of the hardware stuff at the hardware abstraction level that is really important, and flashing BIOS by doing the chip, Stone Age stuff. So anyway, I have experience doing construction. I have experience doing working with my hands. I have experience working with tools, and like I said, the biggest part of what you need to learn on the job, to do the job, you learn on the job, right? So this next phase of where we're going, humanity, right? we've lost a lot of those skills in a very short period of time within the course of my life, right? It just doesn't exist anymore. And I'm here in the middle of this industrial age city in the Northeast where all of these buildings are at least 100 years old. Okay. So I'm pretty sure this one here, I'm pretty sure all the ones, not over the skyline, see the green one, but next to that is the, you can see the canister looking thing, the canister looking light. That's the Superman building, right? And that's an old ass building, right? So at this point, all of the ones that I can see here are at least 100 years old, except for maybe this parking garage. I'm pretty sure the parking garage is not 100 years old. Okay, so except for that, but it's got at least 50 years. Pretty sure it's at least 50, maybe 45. It's approximately as old as I am. This parking garage is approximately as old as I am, give or take maybe 10 years, right? Because it's rusty as fuck. They just recently painted it, and trust me, it's rusty as fuck. And it's hard to age, industrial, stuff. But all these, this is one of the reasons why I love this place, and I love this environment. I love this whole section right here, the Arts District, because there's a college town here, a couple colleges. It's all an intersectional, blah blah, whatever, kind of transient, and even that ugly ass building with the green and red lights. That building is at least 35 years old at this point. I'm pretty sure. It's not new, but it's new type of construction. So 80s, right? So that thing is probably maybe a generation younger than I am. Right, so it's not that new, but it's the newest thing here, right? And I guess there's another newer building. You just barely see the red square, but the blue, tiny blue square. That's the top, very top of an ugly building. That's newer than, that's like in late 90s, 2000, whatever. So that's right around the turn of the end of I will put that right at the end of the Stone Age, because there is a bunch of stone facade to it, right? So it can be part of the Stone Age as well. It's at the end of it, because they use the veneer, the stone veneer, the marble veneer. Right. So I have done a lot of construction. It's important to mention that because that's what my provenance is, and that's what the life experience gives me the allowance to talk about, ending out of the Stone Age, because not only have I been, I'm here in the college town, but I have lived it, right? And it needs to be said. Whatever your view on it is, it doesn't matter, because it's my life. I've spent more of my life in the Stone Age than I have in the New Age. And the ending of the Stone Age, I'm putting right at the turn of the century, right? Whereas the ending of the Piscean Age happened in 2012. Two different things. They're interrelated, but whatever. So this video is part of what I'm talking about, part of this series, a sub-series here of dealing with, the on-the-job training, but also specifically construction, specifically what I love and the joy of these old-ass buildings and being able to work on, right? This is behind me, my work. Right? And I want to document this, because it really is beautiful. And here in the light, it's not, here at the dark, here at night, under the light here, it's not as dramatic as it is in the daytime. Okay, and I can't remember if I did one in the daytime or not. Maybe I should do one in the daytime just to make sure. I've done one during the daytime. This is part of what it is, doing the, returning back to being a student, back to basics. I love this shit. I love architecture. That's why I came here. And so it's one of the things that I want to talk about that's important, and I was talking about in the last video, is not only the architecture itself, we're talking about all these buildings are over 100 years old, like all of them. And there's a magic that, except maybe the Avery building across the street, I think that one's maybe relatively newer. That's got to be at least 80 years old, 90 years old. So I think that building's older than I am. And the Sesto building over there, maybe that was in the 30s. Still older than I am, and we're now talking about 100 years, close. We're getting in on close to 100 years. So that might be one of the newer ones, is a 100-year-old building. Certainly the church right up next to it is 150 to 175. So that's part of the reason why I'm doing this kind of sub-series. It's, it's a present to myself. I get to talk about something I really love and really want to talk about that I think may also be interesting to other people as well. And so that's one of the motivations of doing this, and especially right as I'm looking at my own work and how beautiful it is, that I can add my little bit of art to the city that's already got, a good content of art. And it's like that's one of the draws of this place, that they let there be an arts community, and such as the modern art is. I'm not going to comment on it because it's not really worth commenting on. I still appreciate, I'll put it this way, I would much rather look at the facade of the front of the Lowe's, the old Lowe's Theater, rather than some of the stuff being produced by the art school, RISD. I hate to name it, but it's a well-known college that's pushing out students into the world with a mindset that art is also somewhat of a commodity, and it's also something, it's a business, and whatever. But the quality of the art itself is, I don't feel nothing for it. If the definition of art is evoking a feeling from someone, I don't feel nothing from that. What is it? I don't know. Don't ask me. I don't know. I can't give you nothing on it. You're not getting nothing from that. Any emotion from me anyway on it, because I don't even know what I'm looking at. And it's certainly that. And I'm being kind of moody with the lighting for that purpose, that art can be anything you want to call it, but certainly the lighting of it makes a difference, I think. So one of the reasons why I love doing this channel and the videos is I get to be my own DJ, I get to be my own videographer, I get to have fun with the camera and the lights. There really is a magic to this place. There had been. There is, I don't know. I'm part of this series as I'm lamenting what was and what wonderful things had been. And I just, at a certain point, it keeps going on, the change. And then it's no longer Theseus's boat, is it? And especially once you've laid a new keel. That's kind of the backbone of it, and that's the soul of the boat is the keel. Anyway, so I grew up with a sailmaker's bench, and it was, my mom would say, get off that, you don't want to break it, and of course I wouldn't, and, because I love that, the sailmaker's bench, It was one of the things, I couldn't bring in the sailmaker's bench for show and tell, so I brought in one of the pegs one time. My dad graciously let me take one of the pegs for the sailmaker's bench, and I get to think a couple other things with me for show and tell. My dad's antiques were a number of my show and tells. Fortunately, I had interest. One time I taught the teacher, the third grade teacher, how Mark Twain got his name from a lead line. Working in the boats. Not ferry, the paddle boats. That's how Mark Twain got his name. Samuel Clemens became Mark Twain working on the paddle boats. So the teacher didn't know that. Fun fact. like one of the things is the magic of the city, with the lights and, everything. And it's so well lit here. I can do a video at night and not even worry about the lighting. It's close enough to my face, like there's and the lights are kind of giving a little bit of a moody thing going on here. So that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this series is for, this is going to be more interesting to some people than others. And the reason I love doing the thumbnails of just a picture, not even having to put any content information. I'm not the only one who does that, and it's just like, this is me. This is it. This is the final. This is the final exam. It's all spoken word. There's no text here. This is me winging it. And this is, you'll see a lot of this in the background. I try to have a thumbnail that shows that shows where I am and what I'm doing and blah, 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 blah. And so these really are capturing my heart and my feelings on a lot of the stuff, in ways that I couldn't before with sticking with the text, the learning stuff. Me returning as a student, I'm giving the exam, a final exam, right? Like that's kind of what this is, the oral exam for what I've learned in Providence. I have 14 years in the city, and I'll have to bleep that out. So it's what I've learned here in this place, and I think it's a good way to separate and break from what's happening here, right? I'm trying to pick a location of where I'm going to end up when the dust settles, and I'm really trying to figure it out, right? So some of you that are with me, that have been with me, are helping me, supporting me in some great way, and I really truly appreciate that. So it really is it's important for me because it's part of one of the things that I really truly love and care about is the architecture, the art that's put into the building in different ways, and there are architects who are also artists who design stuff, and things used to look great and they used to look wonderful. And that's one of the things that I'm talking about, that I'm commiserating, I guess, or at least noting or noticing or giving a report on or explaining the significance of it, of that it's not just going from the old to the new, but it's going from, like we're really truly are at a significant point, a significant transition. And there's only, believe what you want, right? But I'm still here because of the reason why I'm still here. And I ask my higher power, like, you need to give me the plan of what I'm supposed to be doing. And so I ask because I really am done with this place. And I ask because I need to know. I want to know, right? And so this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this, is because I really need to get out, like, all this stuff that I guess sort of I've been holding in, but, I write about it somewhere. But there's this last great push that they want me to talk about, some higher order stuff that it's important. If it was important enough for me to kind of think about it and consider it and learn it, it's important enough to share, right? And that's something I'm reminding myself of, that there are areas that have fascinated me that I've just have done a lot of research on, and then it's like, well, it's like time. Let's share them on the channel. So it's part of what this is. Part of it is giving a clearinghouse of what I've learned, what I know. Part of it is like, here we have this talking about the stonework and talking about the Masonic code encoded into the buildings. And maybe I could do a nice discussion of that sometime, where I have the link to the Masonic symbols, and I will just go through these buildings, some of these buildings, churches predominantly, and we'll decode them, right? That might be a fun thing to do, right? Show you some of the buildings, right? While I'm still here. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I'm still waiting for the last bit of the trust to clear up. I'm a trust kid, right? That's why I'm doing these videos, where I do what I want to do, right? So keeping in line with the theme of the video, we're talking about, the construction of these monuments of Masonic order, the grid that's imposed on the city, with a lot of Masonic buildings, front and central. I think that would be a fun assignment. I want to stick with the old buildings, and I want to show what makes some of these important. Again, we're coming to the end of the Stone Age, and that's sort of what needs to be recognized here, that there's a handworking quality to stones, to stonework, right? To ceramics, that is lost with computers, that was even lost with the printing press, but it's certainly lost with computers, lost with all the software, lost with, these comfortable cars that are kind of almost the same comfort level as a living room. Okay, I'm looking at the time, 24 minutes, it looks like. These cars are as comfortable as living rooms. You lose touch or the tactile sense of life and of living and what's important for survival. And it's part of the, how do I say this? This kind of thought just flashed through my mind. Part of the antidote, or the antithesis of the electronic age, and of all the Wi-Fi and wired technology and convenience electronics, part of the antithesis of that is the stonework and working with your hands. All right, hold on. I'm going to pause this because we got some locals. Okay, so they want to get the ride. All right, so the antithesis of all the electronic stuff, right? Of AI, of all of this software-based stuff, the network-based stuff. The antithesis of it is working with your hands. Okay, so stonework, the stone monuments, big-ass churches that are made of granite. The new structures are made of cement and rebar, and that cement cracks in short order, right? Once again, there is a black market trade for sand that a lot of people, the good people, do not know about. And sand is the main basic material of concrete. And we have so much concrete all around us, right? There was not such an illegal trade of sand before 1980s, right? There just kind of was a sudden rapid uptick of sand and black market of other stuff that shall remain nameless, right? How do I know this? Because it all comes from the earth. The earth is crying out, what have you done? So all right, so I'm lost. So working with concrete, there's a lot of concrete, and in there a lot of sand and glass. Certain type of sand. It's so much more silicate based. However, so we have modern society, which is planned obsolescence, and we have what was 100 years ago still standing, right? And it will continue to keep standing because it is made of stone and not of concrete, right? And granite being the stone. Bricks are even a superior product to concrete in a lot of cases, although concrete is supposed to have rebar, blah, 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 it cracks in 5 years, right? Modern concrete cracks in 5 years. So one of the things that is significant about the granite is it doesn't crack in 5 years, and it lasts 100 plus years, 200 years. And you see, we were talking about, I was talking about the monoliths, the megaliths that were built in the order of 13,000 years ago, right? The nodal grid points of the monuments around the world, that they act as a complete circuit. They conduct electricity. The rocks themselves conduct a certain level of current, certain level of charge through them. And the antidote for, or the antithesis of electronics is the stones and stonework and working with your hands. And the antithesis of the network, the electric network, is the nodal grid network of the planet, with these stone monoliths and stone monolith complexes and pyramid complexes that hold a charge, that act like capacitors, right? And this is a higher order kind of thing. I know I'm kind of rambling on about this. I'm not so much keeping on point. I'm sort of rambling on about this. But this is part of the big design of this. I know granite. I worked with stone. I work with rock. I work with, trying to make stone walls and trying to get stones to fit together. And it's very difficult to get them to interlock. And the whole structure becomes one huge electrical component. Around the world, these nodal grid points are huge monuments. Stonehenge is one. Think of whatever else it is you want about Stonehenge. There's these huge stones that are there, lined in a circle, and wow, right? When it was what it was, could conduct a lot of electricity, a lot of power, a lot of energy could conduct through there. It wouldn't be surprising you'd make a portal out of that, right? And a lot of these places in South America and Mexico and all over the world, Ukraine, I think, maybe not Ukraine, but just all over the world. There's these huge monuments, monoliths, whatever, that are set up in strategic points, right? And so long that it has created a network of power going to it. And that's one of the things that is trying to be, the powers that be are trying to overwhelm that natural grid that's been set up like that, and why all of it's hush-hush, and these countries close off their borders, and no, we're not letting you do any surveys here, or no explorations, and you can't really necessarily blame them, because the past surveys or expeditions are none too kind to these places. It's just a huge mess of a cover-up for what a lot of these huge, the pyramids, pyramid structures, the a lot of that over in Egypt, and it's good, it's closed off to visitors, fine, whatever, but it belongs to the power grid of the planet, the what's kind of, as explained to me, it's maintaining a certain level of power within the earth as the poles shift and change. It's a stabilizer, like a capacitor, I think. That's a good way to put it, right? And yet, that's a simple kind of explanation. There's more to it than that, but it's like, this is part of what I'm talking about when I say the end of the Stone Age, is that these things get activated in some way as the poles shift, right? I'm putting the end of the Stone Age at, right around the turn of the century, but we're not entirely done yet, right? The Earth itself still has to go through its transition to New Earth. What New Earth, this is what my guides tell me, what New Earth is fixing to be is the new location of the poles. And everything's flipped upside down, and it's happening, right? It's happening. The fields are weakening. A lot of the solar stuff, the big solar stuff, is missing us. Thank God. By the gods, it's missing us. And it's consciously, intelligently missing us. But there's going to be, one it doesn't take as much of a hit now as it did back 100 years ago when these things were built, right? And new construction isn't really able to withstand that kind of a thing, whereas the stone monuments can, right? And this is, you believe as you see fit, right? But this is what my guides have kind of led me into understanding, that this is why the stonework was so important, especially for the cathedrals and the places of God, places of worship, where people are coming supposedly to worship, a savior, blah, 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 whatever. And in theory, what the Masons originally, and it's, in their pursuit for God or whatever, they laid it out in such a way that the stone monuments, the stone workers, have a fairly secure protection from that. Just relatively speaking, right? The granite conducts a charge back to the planet if it's all properly joiced in and blah, 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 blah. There's at least a fighting chance, right? I'll just say that for the congregation, right? So that's why it's important to understand moving forward, moving from where we were, what was, unburdened by what was, to being completely burdened by, where we're at now, so to speak, and so I have, based on, my construction experience working with stone, having actually taken a chisel and a hammer and, the different ways to cut stone and blah, blah, blah. I'll tell you this, that it's my personal experience that or from what I could see, like I still need to go over there at some point and see firsthand, but from, pictures and the close-ups and, there's a few YouTube channels that are kind of onto the right path of this, of how those big-ass monuments, the stone was melted, essentially, in some cases, that it was molecularly, shifted or morphed or dissolved by some chemical agent, right? Stones have oxygen in them, O2, and as we understand with the peroxy defects, you can get O2, the peroxy, or peroxide, to to act in a certain way. It reacts. It's not conceivable that they had an advanced technique that was not that far-fetched to understand if you understand the principles that are involved. I'll just say that, right? All right. One of the locals asked me. All right. So I'm at 40:04. Interestingly enough, builders numbers. So I'm gonna kind of close out this rambling, whatever of a video, this update. We're just gonna continue talking about this kind of topic. I'm kind of going around and around. I think I'm not sure how lucid I am, but I do enjoy talking about it. And it's something that needs to be discussed. Moving from the Stone Age, the hand tools, to concrete, and then putting molds up and plopping up new construction like overnight, and tearing down a lot of beautiful buildings that were there. This isn't something new. This is something that's been kind of going on for a while. Everything's changing, and it's really important to kind of notice the changes, and kind of say what's going on, from my perspective, because it's not just a change in society. It's like we're at a precipice, right? And the best person, the mentor of this, is actually Terence McKenna, where he talks about jumping off into hyperspace. We're a species that's ready to leave Earth. We've kind of have lost appreciation for it because we're ready to go, ready to blast off, and blah, 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 blah. Anyway, my fingers are cold, and I'm going to go in and talk with some of the guys at the bar. We're having a New Year's party tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful holidays. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all the support. I love everyone. And I'm going to, update you. We'll keep kind of rambling on about this topic. Hopefully it's interesting to you guys next time I get a chance, I'm out here doing not much really of anything else. It's just time. This is time. So anyway, all right. Much love. Have a good rest of your night. Namaste.